The thunder of engines and the blur of city lights roared around Lena Cruz as she swerved through downtown traffic on her battered scooter. The paper bag strapped to her back reeked of garlic noodles and urgency. One wrong turn and she'd be fired again. 10 minutes or less or it's free, she muttered under her breath, dodging a luxury SUV. Her phone buzzed with a nasty message from her manager. Client is a VVIP. Screw this up and don't come back. She gritted her teeth and accelerated, weaving between cars. Rain threatened the sky, and the marble steps of the Empire Grand Hotel loomed just ahead. Spotlights flashed, photographers screamed, and security teams barked into earpieces. Why were there paparazzi outside a noodle order? She wondered, but she didn't have time to think. The order needed to go to the presidential suite. Whoever this VVIP was, they weren't about to wait. Then it happened. A gleaming black Koenigsegg Jesko slid into view, parked illegally in front of the hotel. Lena's eyes widened. No. Too late. Her brakes screamed, her body flung forward, and the scooter slammed into the supercar's rear bumper. The paper bag exploded on impact, garlic noodles splattering across the windshield in slow-motion horror. The scooter toppled. Lena hit the wet pavement hard. For 2 seconds there was silence, then chaos. Security guards rushed in, photographers surged forward, and a hotel manager stormed down the steps, his voice shrill with rage. You idiot! Do you even know what car this is? You just destroyed a $3 million machine. Lena winced, pushing herself off the ground. Her knees were scraped. Her pride shredded. She opened her mouth to explain, but the crowd parted. A man stepped out of the hotel lobby. He moved like shadow, quiet, lethal, composed. Tall, in a charcoal black suit that clung to his broad shoulders like it had been stitched in a war room. His face was cut from stone, jaw sharp, brows drawn low, lips pressed in disapproval. Adrian Black, tech billionaire, CEO of Blackcore Industries, known for hostile takeovers, a frozen heart, and firing people with a nod. And now, staring directly at her. Lena froze. Adrian's eyes flicked to the sauce-streaked windshield, then back to her, disheveled, drenched, hair falling from a crooked helmet. A delivery girl. The manager lunged. Sir, I'll call the police. Adrian raised one hand. The man stopped mid-sentence. The crowd hushed. His gaze didn't leave Lena. He walked slowly toward her, polished shoes splashing through rain. Her heart pounded louder than the shouting. Say something, she told herself. Apologize. Run. Anything. But she couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Adrian stopped 3 feet from her. The storm in his eyes didn't match the calm of his voice. Are you hurt? The question slapped the air still. Even the photographers paused. She blinked, confused. I don't think so. He looked down at her scooter, then the food bag's remains. Was this for me? Her lips parted. Presidential suite delivery. I didn't know it was yours. He nodded once, slow. Then turned to his assistant. Pay her triple the cost of the bike. And reschedule the summit for tomorrow. The assistant blinked. Sir. I'm not in the mood anymore. His voice dropped. Everyone out of my sight. Gasp. Whispers. But no one dared protest. The crowd melted away, leaving only Lena and the man whose car she just destroyed. She stared at him. You're not angry? His eyes softened, barely. You look like you've had worse days. That undid her. She gave a short, breathless laugh. You have no idea. He took a step closer. She didn't move. What's your name? He asked. Lena. Her voice came out smaller than she liked. Lena, he repeated, as if testing it in his mouth. I'll be seeing you again. Before she could react, he turned and stepped back into the hotel, vanishing behind the doors like a ghost swallowed by gold light. Lena stood in the rain, numb. Her scooter was bent. Her knees ached. Her job was probably gone. And yet, he asked for my name. She didn't know if she'd been threatened, charmed, or warned. But one thing was certain. The most powerful man in the city had noticed her. And she had no idea why. The city had forgotten the crash by sunrise. But Lena Cruz hadn't. She stood in front of the towering glass doors of Blackcore Industries the next morning, her heart pounding loud enough to drown out the city buzz. Her knees still stung from yesterday's fall, but what throbbed harder was the humiliation and the mystery. Why hadn't Adrian Black pressed charges? Why had he paid for her ruined scooter? Why did he say, "I'll be seeing you again," with such quiet certainty? She gripped the manila envelope tighter in her hands. Inside it was a handwritten apology, and a check refunding the exact amount his assistant gave her the night before. She hadn't earned it, and she wasn't the type to keep what wasn't hers, not even from a billionaire who probably lit cigars with $100 bills. A massive security guard stared her down. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Lena said, raising her chin, "but I have something Mr. Black will want to see." The man looked unimpressed. "So does half the city." "Tell him it's the delivery girl," she said, steady but bold. "From last night." That did it. The guard blinked, then reached for his earpiece. After a tense silence, he gestured toward the elevators. "Top floor." "He's expecting you." Her breath caught. "He's expecting me?" The elevator ride felt like floating up through a storm. Her reflection shimmered in the mirror-lined walls, plain jeans, simple blouse, and defiant brown eyes beneath a messy ponytail. She didn't look like she belonged in the marble and gold world above. But maybe that's exactly why she was going up. When the doors opened, Lena stepped into a space so stark and beautiful it took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows spilled light over modern steel desks and tastefully cold furniture. The air smelled like coffee, ambition, and secret. Adrian Black was already there, standing behind a wall of glass, looking out over the skyline like he owned the sun. He turned slowly, as if he'd known the second she entered. "Miss Cruz," he said, voice as smooth as silk and just as sharp. "You're early." She swallowed hard but didn't falter. "I'm not here for anything. I came to return this." She placed the envelope on his sleek black desk. "You paid for something I wrecked. That doesn't sit right with me." His eyes locked onto hers. "You crashed into a $3 million car and returned the money I gave you without being asked." He crossed his arms. "Why?" "Because I'm not for sale," she said, voice rising. "And I don't need pity." A beat of silence passed. Then, he smiled. Just the corner of his mouth. Barely there. But it shook her more than yelling ever could. "You're not what I expected," Adrian said. "Most people see a check from me and ask for more." "I'm not most people," she snapped. "No," he said, circling the desk toward her. "You're not." His nearness tightened the air. He studied her face as if memorizing it, not like a man sizing up an employee. Like a man trying to solve a riddle written in fire. "You stood in front of my building," he said softly. "Marched past security. Into this office. Just to return a check." "Yes. That's bold." "I've been poor, invisible, and underestimated my whole life, Mr. Black," she said. "But I've never been afraid of powerful men. Especially not ones hiding behind tinted glass." The room held its breath. So did he. Then, he laughed. Low, rich, and entirely unexpected. "You intrigue me, Miss Cruz." Lena blinked. "I'm not here to intrigue you." "No. But you do." The tension was unbearable, electric. Her chest rose and fell with the weight of it. "I'm not your charity case," she whispered. "Then maybe," he said, "you're my wake-up call." She stared. What's that supposed to mean? But Adrian didn't answer. Instead, he reached to his side, picked up a thick folder, and handed it to her. "What is this?" "A contract." She hesitated. "A contract for what?" "My personal driver quit this morning. I want you to take the job." Her jaw dropped. "You're joking." "No," his voice held no humor. "You navigate chaos well. You're brave. And apparently, you don't care who I am." He stepped closer. Which makes you the safest person I've met in years. I deliver noodles, Mr. Black. I don't drive CEOs around in million-dollar cars. He smiled again, just barely. Then we'll start with something less expensive. She stared at the folder. Inside was a paycheck worth 6 months of her current job. But what terrified her more than the number was how much she wanted to say yes. Lena's breath hitched. This is insane. Yes, Adrian murmured, stepping even closer. But so was crashing into my car. And look where that brought you. He extended his hand. A challenge. A test. Or maybe an invitation. Her fingers trembled as she reached out to shake it. The black Audi glided through the city like a ghost, sleek, silent, untouchable. Lena gripped the wheel tighter than necessary as traffic lights cast flickering shadows across the leather interior. Adrian Black sat beside her, silent and unreadable, watching the skyline from behind dark sunglasses. This was her 3rd day as his temporary driver. 3 days of strange silence, stolen glances, and a heat she couldn't explain simmering just beneath the polished surface. And still, he hadn't said a word about why he chose her. Lena exhaled, fingers flexing on the steering wheel. You always stare out the window like that? Adrian didn't turn. I don't like small talk. Noted, she muttered. Silence again. But it wasn't empty, it was the kind that vibrated, full of unsaid things. She could feel him watching her now, even if she didn't look. Finally, he spoke. You drive like someone who's used to being chased. Her jaw tightened. I used to deliver food in Midtown. If you're late, they dock your pay. He tilted his head. And if you're fast? They still dock your pay, she said dryly. A small smile played on his lips. Efficient, smart, and still not impressed by me. Lena glanced at him, then quickly back at the road. Should I be? Most people are. Well, she said, eyes on the road, then I'm not most people. He leaned back in his seat, folding his arms. That's what I find inconvenient. She frowned. Inconvenient. You disrupt the script. Lena's brows drew together. I'm not a character in your story, Mr. Black. No, he said quietly. But you've started showing up in mine anyway. Her stomach twisted. What was that supposed to mean? The car pulled to a smooth stop in front of a marble-columned hotel. The kind where even the doormen looked like they had secret security clearance. He stepped out, but before she could close the door behind him, Adrian turned. Be here in 2 hours. I'll need you to take me to the Piermont Tower afterward. She nodded, heart still hammering from that last cryptic remark. Yes, sir. He didn't move. Stop calling me sir. What should I call you then? His eyes locked onto hers, piercing. Adrian. Lena swallowed hard. All right, Adrian. With a nod, he vanished inside. She slumped back in the driver's seat, exhaling deeply. What was this tension between them? Was it in her head, or did he feel it too? It wasn't just about the job. It was the way he looked at her, like he saw her, really saw her, and didn't mind the mess. But this couldn't happen. Not between a delivery girl and a billionaire with the city in his palm. 2 hours later, they were headed toward the Piermont Tower. Sunset painted the skyline in gold and crimson. The silence in the car this time wasn't sharp. It was softer, heavy with something unsaid. Adrian finally broke it. You're different, Lena. She laughed once bitterly. You keep saying that. What does it mean? He turned slightly in his seat, his expression unreadable. It means I don't trust anyone. And yet here I am, in a car you're driving, feeling safer than I do in my boardroom. Lena stared at him. That's not about me. That's about your life. He looked away. Maybe. They pulled up to the glass towers of Piermont, and as he stepped out, a stunning woman in a crimson dress walked toward them. Blonde, elegant, polished like a trophy. She smiled like a shark. Adrian. You're late. Vanessa, he said coolly. Change of plans. I'll only be staying 20 minutes. Her gaze flicked to Lena, narrowing. Your driver. Adrian said nothing, but Vanessa turned toward Lena, voice sharp. Don't park here. The board doesn't like service vehicles at the main entrance. Before Lena could respond, Adrian cut in. She's with me. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. I see. Lena felt her chest tighten. Jealousy wasn't supposed to be part of this job. But it was there, burning behind her ribs, hot and unwelcome. An hour later, he emerged alone. Lena had parked discreetly behind the building, but Adrian found her anyway. His eyes were darker now, colder. Take me home, he said. No explanation. No expression. She obeyed in silence. Halfway through the ride, he said, Vanessa was my ex-fiancée. Lena's hands tightened on the wheel. Didn't ask. She cheated with my best friend, he added. She blinked. That sucks. Yes, he said. It does. Another long pause. She said something strange, Adrian murmured. Lena didn't respond. She said, I see why you're keeping the driver close. She's your new weakness. The words echoed like a slap. Lena's throat went dry. And what did you say to that? He looked at her, eyes soft but stormy. I didn't deny it. Her breath caught. The city lights flashed through the windshield, casting moving shadows on both their faces. The silence between them now was no longer just tension, it was loaded with something impossible. Fear. Recognition. And just as they pulled up to his penthouse, Adrian said one final thing before exiting. Be careful, Lena. You think you're invisible, but in my world, the ones I care about become targets. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut. And she sat there alone, in a luxury car she didn't belong in, heart racing like she'd just crashed into something all over again. The rain hit the city like it had a vendetta. Sheets of water slammed against Lena's windshield as she sat in Adrian Black's parked Audi outside his penthouse. Her fingers trembled around the steering wheel, not from cold, but from the words still echoing in her head. Be careful, Lena. You think you're invisible, but in my world, the ones I care about become targets. He cared about her. That should have been romantic. But the way he said it, it sounded like a warning. Like an omen. She shut off the engine and leaned back. What was she doing? She wasn't supposed to feel anything for him. Not awe. Not attraction. And definitely not fear. Not when everything about Adrian screamed power and mystery. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Don't trust him. He's not who he says he is. Attached, a blurry photo. Adrian. Arguing with an older man in front of what looked like a courthouse. Her stomach flipped. She looked at the message again, then again. It didn't make sense. Why would someone send this to her? Unless... She opened the door and stepped into the rain. Adrian stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows in his penthouse, a glass of whiskey in his hand and his reflection fractured by rivulets of water outside. He didn't hear the elevator ding. But he felt Lena's presence the moment she entered. He turned slowly. I didn't call you up. She tossed the phone onto the glass table. Someone else did. He walked over, picked up the phone. His jaw tightened when he saw the image. Who is it? She asked, arms folded, soaked to the bone. Who's sending me warnings like I've wandered into some twisted game? Adrian stared at the screen. That man in the photo, he's my father. Her breath caught. But I thought your father was dead. Adrian cut in, a bitter smile ghosting across his lips. To the press, yes. To me. I sometimes wish he was. Lena stepped closer, cautious but firm. Adrian, what aren't you telling me? He set the glass down, fingers flexing. I was never meant to inherit Blackstone Corporation. My brother, Daniel, was the heir. The favorite. The groomed one. Then what happened? He betrayed our family. Embezzled millions. My father covered it up to protect the company's name. Adrian's eyes darkened. I found out and exposed him. Destroyed my brother. Shattered the trust. Lena's voice was soft. Your own brother? He would have destroyed hundreds of livelihoods if I didn't, Adrian replied, jaw clenched. But in doing that, I made enemies. People loyal to Daniel, to my father, and they've been waiting for a crack in my armor. His eyes met hers. You're that crack now, Lena. She looked away, heart pounding. So what, you push me away now? For my own good? No, his voice was low, raw. I pull you closer. Because if they come for you, they'll have to go through me. Silence fell between them. Heavy. Fragile. But Lena's voice broke it. Adrian, that's not how protection works. I don't want to be your weak spot. I want to know the whole truth. All of it. He hesitated, then walked to a hidden drawer, pulling out a manila envelope. He handed it to her. She opened it and froze. Inside were photographs. Dozens. Her. On her bike. At her apartment. Talking to her neighbor. Delivering packages. Surveillance. Her throat dried. You had me followed? I didn't, Adrian said. Someone else did. And I only found these 2 days ago. Lena's knees weakened. This wasn't about romance anymore. This was deeper. Darker. Why me? She whispered. Why target me? He stepped closer, voice thick. Because I made the mistake of looking at you like you mattered. She shook her head. You can't protect me if I don't know who's after you. Or why. Adrian looked down, then said quietly, Then you need to know the real reason I was at that hotel when we met. Lena blinked. You weren't there for a meeting? No, he hesitated. I was meeting with a lawyer to finalize my engagement contract with Vanessa. Silence. A cold, heavy silence. You were engaged, she said, stepping back. An arranged merger. A business deal. No love. Just paperwork. But you were still going through with it when you met me. Yes. His voice cracked. And then you crashed into my car, and into every plan I had. Lena's heart was in her throat. So I ruined your perfect little empire? No, he said fiercely. You saved me from it. Tears burned her eyes, but she blinked them away. So what now? She asked, voice shaking. He stepped closer, eyes blazing. Now I burn every bridge if it means keeping you safe. But just as the moment hung between them, his phone buzzed. He picked it up. Read the message. His face went pale. Then he looked at Lena. They've taken your brother. Her heart stopped. What? He held up the screen. A photo. Her little brother tied to a chair. Bruised. Terrified. Below it, walk away from her. Or the boy dies. The city lights blurred behind the rain-streaked windows of Adrian's black Maybach, but Lena saw none of it. She stared blankly at the image still glowing on Adrian's phone. Her little brother, Eli, gagged and bruised, terror bleeding from his eyes. Her body vibrated with silent panic. It was a kind of fear she hadn't known until now, not for herself, but for someone innocent. I should have walked away from you, she whispered, the weight of guilt crashing down. If I hadn't crashed into your stupid car. Stop. Adrian's voice cut through her spiral. This isn't your fault. She turned on him, trembling. He's a kid, Adrian. They're using a child to get to you. And I don't even know what this is. Who are these people? How powerful are they that they can just take someone? Adrian didn't flinch. His voice was low, deadly calm. They're remnants of my father's network. Silent investors. People Daniel dragged in when he was bleeding the company dry. They think by hurting you, they're hurting me. They're right. Adrian's eyes flicked to her, something raw behind them. I won't let them touch him, he said. Or you. The car pulled up in front of a towering, glass-clad skyscraper, Blackstone's headquarters. Adrian's assistant, Margot, was already waiting in the lobby, earpiece in and tablet in hand. They've demanded a trade, she said crisply as they entered the elevator. You pull out of the Meridian deal. Today. Or the kid dies. Meridian? Lena asked, confused. Tech merger, Adrian muttered. One that would expose every illegal shell company they've hidden behind for years. They need me to back off. And you will, Lena said immediately. Right. The elevator dinged. Adrian didn't answer. Inside his top-floor office, the atmosphere was electric with tension. Glass walls, stormy skyline beyond. Security monitors buzzed on the far wall. You think I'm going to sacrifice Eli for a deal? Lena snapped, rounding on him. No, Adrian said evenly. I'm going to win both. She blinked. How? He tapped a screen. Because I've got something they don't. The video changed, split-screen surveillance from a hidden location. And in one quadrant, Eli, tied to a chair in a dingy warehouse. Oh my God, Lena whispered, stepping closer. Facial tracking just locked the lead kidnapper. Miguel Vargas. Used to work private security for my brother. You knew they'd come for Eli, she said slowly. And you let them? I knew they'd try. That's why I leaked Eli's fake school transfer last week and planted a traceable smartwatch in his backpack. You used my brother as bait? Adrian's voice dropped, full of pain. No. I protected him better than I've ever protected anything in my life. Lena wanted to hate him. She wanted to scream. But the truth was, Eli was alive because of Adrian's planning. I'm going, she said suddenly. To the warehouse. Adrian stepped in front of her. No. She squared her shoulders. You said they're coming after me. Let them see I'm not just some girl in a delivery uniform. I'm his sister. And I'm done being afraid. Their eyes locked. Adrian's jaw flexed. Then slowly, he nodded. The warehouse reeked of oil and damp concrete. Rain thundered on the tin roof. Armed security flanked every shadow. Adrian walked in first, immaculate in black. Lena followed, heart hammering, eyes scanning. Miguel stepped from the dark. Greasy, smug, armed. You brought the girl. How poetic. Adrian didn't blink. Let him go. Miguel grinned. Pull out of Meridian first. Lena stepped forward, voice sharp. You want a show? Here it is. She pulled out a USB from her pocket, one Adrian had slipped her moments before. This has copies of every shell company Daniel created. Offshore accounts. Dirty dealings. The moment you hurt Eli, this goes to the press. Miguel's eyes narrowed. Try me, she added. I'll burn it all down. Adrian's phone buzzed. A message. He read it, then looked up. Check your bank, he told Miguel. The thug hesitated, then tapped his phone. His face drained of color. You, he stammered. I emptied your accounts, Adrian said, calm as glass. Every dime. You touch either of them, and I'll make you disappear so fast your ghost won't know where to haunt. Miguel raised his gun, too fast, too desperate. And then, a crack. Security tackled him. Gun skidded. Adrian rushed to Eli, who sobbed when Lena broke his restraints and pulled him into her arms. You're safe, she whispered. You're safe now. Back at the penthouse, Lena tucked Eli into the guest room. The boy was exhausted, but safe. She returned to the living room. Adrian was standing by the fire, coat off, sleeves rolled up, lost in thought. You okay? She asked. He didn't look at her. I put you in danger. Again. And I stayed, she said quietly. Again. He turned slowly. I keep ruining things, he said. Even when I try to save them. She crossed the space between them. You didn't ruin anything, she whispered. You saved my brother. And maybe me too. He looked into her eyes. I should have walked away when I met you, he said. But I didn't. I couldn't. Her voice trembled. Then don't. Their lips met, hot, desperate, real. A fire long denied finally unleashed. But just as they pulled apart, the door buzzed. Adrian walked over. Checked the monitor. His expression changed. He opened the door. And standing there, Vanessa, drenched, furious, and holding a folder. I thought you should know, she hissed, eyes blazing at Lena. Your little delivery girl was married once. To my brother. The rain hadn't stopped. It slammed against the glass like nature itself had turned violent, as if the storm brewing outside was a mirror of the one now erupting inside Adrian Blackstone's penthouse. Vanessa dropped the folder onto the sleek marble counter like a bomb. Papers spilled, marriage certificates, photographs, court records. Lena's throat closed the moment she saw the name scrawled on the top document, Elias Monroe. Her hands froze at her sides. Her heart pounded so loudly it threatened to drown out everything else. Adrian picked up the top page slowly. His jaw clenched. Is this true? Lena opened her mouth, but her voice stuck in her chest like broken glass. Vanessa's voice was poison-laced silk. She married my brother when she was barely legal. Lied to him. Used him. Left him in debt and disappeared. That's not what happened, Lena rasped. Vanessa scoffed. Of course not. It never is it? Adrian turned toward Lena, his eyes searching hers. Not cold, not angry, but questioning. Hurt. Tell me, he said softly. Please. Lena's breath shook. Her fingers gripped the edge of the counter to keep herself steady. Yes. I was married to Elias. For less than a year. And? Adrian asked, voice strained. And I ran, she said, voice trembling. Because he broke my ribs, Adrian. Vanessa's smugness vanished. I loved him, Lena said. I was stupid. Thought I could fix him. But once the mask came off, I was just a thing to control. I left with nothing. Not even shoes on my feet. Silence filled the room, thick with disbelief, grief, rage. Adrian's jaw twitched. Why didn't you tell me? Lena's voice cracked. Because I didn't want you to look at me like this. Like I'm broken. Or damaged goods. Or something you need to fix. He moved closer, his voice low. Lena, I've never. You were the first person who saw me after all of that, she whispered. Not just a delivery girl. Not a victim. Just me. I didn't want to ruin that. Vanessa crossed her arms. Touching. But that doesn't explain the unpaid debts, the fraud charges. They were his, Lena snapped. I took the fall to get out. I signed the papers and disappeared. The court dismissed everything. And if you'd checked 1 inch deeper than your tabloid sources, you'd know that. Vanessa hesitated. Her smugness faltered. Then, lips curling, she turned to Adrian. Do what you want. Just don't say I didn't warn you. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was brutal. Lena turned away, hiding the tears that burned behind her eyes. I should go. But Adrian stepped forward, stopping her with a gentle hand on her wrist. You don't get to leave again, he said softly. Her eyes snapped up to his. You were never broken, he added. And you don't need to explain anything to me. But I'm asking, don't shut me out now. A tear slid down her cheek. You believe me? I believe in you, he said. Her chest caved with the weight of his words, with the tenderness she didn't know she needed. But just as they leaned into each other, Adrian's phone buzzed. A single message. His entire expression changed. He showed it to Lena. Just 5 chilling words. You should have let her go. Attached, a photo of Eli's school, taken moments ago.